Good evening. If you could take your voices down a little bit, we're going to get the meeting started. There's plenty of seats if you want to filter in. It now being 6:07 p.m. on Wednesday, June 22nd, we are calling this meeting of the Subcommittee of Ordinance and Rules to order. I would ask everyone to stand, remove your hats if you're wearing one, for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I would ask everyone to remain standing, keep your hats off as we take a moment of silence for those serving here and abroad. Thank you very much. Everyone can have a seat. Clerk Samina, can we have a roll call vote, and then we'll go over a little bit of the ground rules of how we're going to run tonight's meeting.
Councillor Ringus?
Here.
Councillor Hume?
Here.
Councillor Flaherty?
Here.
Councillor Ryan?
Here.
We also have in attendance President Barrica as ex officio. Thank you.
Thank you, Clerk Samino. So thank you to everyone for coming out tonight. Obviously, we have a proposal before us. This caused a lot of conversation in town. There's a lot of thoughts on it on both sides of the issue, and that's why it was important to have this meeting in a public setting and allow people to come out and be heard. Today is, I think, a little bit of a different type of meeting where we are your audience. We are going to be hearing your thoughts, your concerns, your feelings about the proposal before us in terms of adjusting an ordinance that will allow for an increased level of cannabis cultivation and delivery outside of the town borders. The first thing I would ask tonight is if you do have a phone, if you could put that to vibrate, because I think a lot of people do want to communicate and we don't want them interrupted as they're speaking. Secondly, anyone that wishes to speak tonight, we actually have two options. We'll have the ability for folks to come on up and address us who are here publicly, and some folks wanted to watch this from home. There will be a text message option as well, and comments can be read into the record that way. For those of you present in person tonight that do want to speak, I do have some of the sign-up sheets that folks have already signed. There is a sign-up sheet over there if anyone wants to be added to it. Your name does have to be on the sign-up sheet if you want to be called, so please, if you haven't done so, you can go over and do that. The first thing I wanted to address is something that's been brought to my attention by a couple different residents who oppose retail sales in the town of Braintree. And I want to say to those folks who are here to talk about that, there is nothing within this proposed ordinance that allows for retail sales within the town of Braintree, nor for delivery of marijuana within the town of Braintree. So if your sole issue is that, I can tell you that is not something that we are looking to change, that the proposal here before us is not looking to change either. So if that was your only issue, I just want to give everyone that sort of level of comfort on that piece. In terms of how the meeting is going to run tonight, we are going to be doing a short presentation from those who have made this proposal to change the ordinance as it currently stands in Braintree. From there, we're going to be hearing staff comments. Those staff comments will be from various agencies within the town, our police department, fire department, and some others who have made some commentary on what their feelings are on this proposal. We will then turn to public comments. As I said with the public comments, there's the live version and there is also the text message version. For those of you speaking live, I will call you in the order with which I received these sheets in which folks signed up. You'll come up to the podium, please state your name, state your address, and then you can speak to us. Everyone will be limited to 4 minutes. Okay, a lot of times when you come to these meetings, it's a 3-minute limit. I wanted to give everyone a little bit of an additional time, so it is a 4-minute limit. When you have about 30 seconds left, I'll give you a little hand motion, a little wave to let you know, but it will be a hard 4-minute limit. If you wish to speak again, hopefully you get everything said the first time, you could re-sign up and be recognized for a second time, but no one will be recognized for a second time until everyone who's wanted to speak has had the opportunity to do so. In terms of the decorum of the meeting, this is an issue, like I said at the outset, that has folks on either side. And I understand that there's folks that are very passionate about this issue. So the one thing I'll ask is that we be mindful that there are going to be different opinions offered, and that we be cognizant that healthy debate is part of this process. Everyone coming out tonight, that's huge. We want to hear your comments, hear your thoughts, but we do have to be respectful of those who are speaking at the podium. So whether you agree with the person that's standing at the podium or you're in total opposition to what they say, just be mindful and respectful of everyone's sort of viewpoints. With that said, we do have some members of our Board of Health who are in attendance tonight. Under the open meeting laws, because they do have a quorum of their membership, they will have to call a meeting to order. So I'd welcome the Chairman of the Board of Health, Dr. Bergoli, to the podium to call their meeting to order.
The Board of Health meeting will now come to order Wednesday, June 22nd. June 22nd, 2022 in the Cahill Auditorium. I'm Arthur Bergoli. I'm the Chairman for the Board of Health, and with me is Juliana Melchionda, who's our clerk. We just have a few moments to take this time. We just want to address you.
Thank you.
David Ringus, Shannon Hume, Julia Flaherty, and Charles Ryan. As you're well aware, we sent a letter to the mayor as well as to the Braintree Town Council in opposition of what's before you tonight. We would just like to read a brief statement. We take very seriously our responsibility to assist the town in protecting, promoting, and sustaining the health, well-being, and quality of life of our residents, the community, and the environment. In doing so, we express our strong objection to any contemplation of amendments to the town's general and zoning ordinance regarding the current prohibition of non-medical marijuana establishments. You need to do a roll call?
There's only two of you, but you should technically do a roll call.
Okay. Arthur Bergoli.
Juliana Melchionda.
And Juliana Melchionda. Yeah. And we'd just like, again, we would like no change to the zoning ordinance. And a motion to adjourn?
Yes. Second that motion.
I second that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Bergoli. Thank you, Ms. Melchionda. We will note the Board of Health's opposition to any changes, and we thank you for being here tonight. With that said, I am going to move on to a presentation from the group that is proposing the change to ordinance, and I would welcome them to the podium. You'll have to actually face us and speak into the microphone for the TV at home.
And I'm going to have my laptop up here as well for my notes. Hello, good evening. My name is Drew Ledbetter, and I'm the CEO of Flower Express. Thank you for having us here tonight. We want to thank, of course, the Town Council.
1 second.
Yes, ma'am.
Take the order off the table.
Oh,
It
my
was tabled
apologies.
at the last meeting.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That's unanimous.
Thank
Just
you.
so everyone knows, that was just to officially open the discussion on the order. At our last meeting on June 1st, we had tabled it. That's just a procedural issue. So all we did officially there was open it, and now these are part of the public comment.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. Thank you again for having us here tonight. We appreciate the opportunity to be able to present our proposal to the town of Braintree, to its citizens, and as well as the town council members that are here present tonight, and including the Board of Health and anybody else who's in the building. So we're going to tell you a little bit about Flower Express. We were formed in 2021. We are 100% owned by people of color, majority owned by women, and we have a leadership team that has over 60 years of experience combined. Our mission is to create a bridge between the adult sales cannabis and medical grade quality cannabis by growing essentially medical grade cannabis in a consistent high-tech environment. And we want to partner with research organizations and also people in the life sciences sector so that we can also benefit from the research part of cannabis sales. Essentially, our values are integrity. We like to face everything forward. We like to be fully transparent, so we're happy to answer any questions tonight. We also believe in environmental sustainability, community empowerment, fiscal responsibility, as well as social equity and social justice in the cannabis industry. We do think that our advantage is, of course, our bred genetics cannabis portfolio. We have over 100 new strains that have not been previously seen in the cannabis market. We have proprietary grow techniques that are very high-tech, low-touch. And we've created some state-of-the-art vertical grow boxes that have artificial intelligence that will help us with analytics in terms of growing techniques as well. We've also partnered already with some cannabis research organizations that are forming in the state to ensure that we have those partnerships, and we have created those links between our recreational sales and our wholesale business, in addition with the medical space and the research space. You can move on to the next slide. Our team is composed of myself, Drew Ledbetter, Chief Executive Officer. I actually was born in South America and moved to the United States in 1990, and I've been here since. I grew up in Boston. I went to Boston Latin School and Boston College, and I actually got a nursing degree at Boston College. I have been in nursing for 18 years, and I transitioned over to cannabis when I myself became a patient after having postpartum depression after my second child. So this is very important to me, and it's really it's a passion of our teams to ensure that we're having the intersection of medicine and cannabis early in the game so that we know what this plant can actually do to help others. And we have our Chief of Cultivation, Huggins LaFond, who's in attendance here today. He's a real estate developer, has been building smart homes for over 18 years. We have Curly Nicholas, our Chief Financial Officer. He's actually in Arkansas at the moment, but he wishes he could be here with us tonight. He's also raised in Boston, Massachusetts, attended Boston Latin Academy, and went on to Mount Ida College and then got an MBA from the University of Arkansas. We have Mark Doucette, our Chief Revenue Officer, and our resident agent. He is a Braintree native, has been here over 40 years and raised his family here, and has a profound experience in executive leadership and management. We have Karen Chacon, our Chief Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer, who also was raised in Jamaica Plain, Boston, attended Boston Latin School, has her master's in community outreach and development, and is currently an executive director of a nonprofit in the city. Marquise Cohen, our Chief Operating Officer, has over 15 years of retail management experience and has been in this space managing inventories and ensuring that sales processes and operations are running smoothly. We have Adrian Brown, our Chief Scientific Officer, who is in charge of all the breeding and the plants and essentially creating new genetics and make sure that we have the best of the plants that are surviving and entering our genetic library. And we also have Leslie Pasquale, who's our Chief Technology Officer. She comes with over 17 years of experience in the tech space, actually helped Curaleaf get their e-commerce sites up and going, and has a lot of experience in highly regulated spaces, as she worked with the New Hampshire Lottery in the past as well. She also went to Boston Latin School and college locally. And then we have Agnieszka Grosso, our Head of Brand and Creative, who's also part of our team. She actually is the Head of Brand and Creative for a biotech firm at the moment, so she's keeping our brand identity consistent with the life sciences space so that we can be successful in every way. Next slide, please. So the cannabis industry, this is kind of a snapshot. Right now we have 13 states, actually 14 states that are legal in America, and it's going up to 17 states by the end of 2022. About 18% of Americans are active marijuana users, and these are self-reported numbers. And nationwide cannabis sales have increased by 67% since 2020. We have all-time high support of cannabis because people have experienced the benefits of the plant at 68%. Again, these are self-reported numbers. And of course, some of the barriers to entry in the cannabis industry are now being overcome at the federal level since we have the Safe Banking Act on the table at the moment, which will allow business owners to be able to actually bank across state lines. In Massachusetts alone, since 2018, we've had $3.12 billion in sales. This presentation was given to your team last week, and it was $3.03 billion. So these are today's numbers. We have a metric data system that tracks everyday sales and then reports it publicly in the open data section for the Cannabis Control Commission, and that's where we get our data. So alone in 2022, cannabis sales have reached $636 million. Massachusetts believes that it's only capturing about 20% of the market in terms of marijuana users and consumers. And in 2021, it was $176 million in tax revenue was generated for the state of Massachusetts, which surpassed liquor for the first time in the state's history. We also believe that only 40% or 60% of the state is participating, and there's only 160 municipalities that are taking advantage of cannabis sales and taking advantage of the tax benefit. Marijuana sales are averaging over $3 million a day, over $100 million a month in the state of Massachusetts alone. And in March, it was reported that the municipalities had collected over $50 million in tax revenue from cannabis sales, and that's for 2022. Next slide, please. For us, we believe that medical research is the future of the cannabis industry. We see that a lot of companies are investing in cannabis research. We saw that the NFL awarded $1 million to cannabis research to try to manage pain management. We see that adult sales are continuing to rise. And we saw that Pfizer invested $6.7 billion in cash to purchase a cannabis research company. Currently, there's only 6 cultivators in the whole United States that can actually provide medical-grade research cannabis, and we are on the road to become the 7th. The reason that we want to allow adult use in addition to medical use is because financially it makes sense. Fiscal responsibility is one of our values. Since 2018, medical sales have only reached $832.4 million, whereas recreational sales have surpassed $3.12 billion. And that's a big gap. That's 4 times the revenue. And although you do have medical retail dispensary here, you would be capturing a lot more tax revenue if you allowed adult recreational cultivation and sales in the city. Again, this is actually today's data. This was stamped for June 12th. Again, every single month, cannabis sales are increasing. They're over $100 million in sales. And in June, it's only 12 days worth of revenue, and it's at $49.3 million. So this is a very lucrative industry, and a lot of towns are opting in to ensure that they are benefiting from the tax advantages of having cannabis in their towns. So the licensure process in Massachusetts is quite extensive. So essentially, you first have to create a business plan and build a team, and then you have to go through local zoning and special permitting, and then apply to the Cannabis Control Commission. The reason we believe we can be successful in Braintree is because we've done this already. We've done this in Western Mass, in the town of Coleraine, where we have obtained 2 host community agreements for marijuana cultivation and delivery service already, and are in the process of building out our facility. Our journey to licensure has been long, and we have seen some progress, so we wanted to share some of the images of our facility that's being built out in Coleraine. We've executed host community agreements, as I mentioned earlier. We have building permits in place. We are now in the special permitting process, and our application is in front of the CCC for review. So we should be obtaining our provisional license from the CCC very soon. So the next slide, please. So we requested these proposed changes early May to the planning board. So we were respectfully requesting that the town zoning ordinance be amended to remove the existing section 135 that does not allow non-medical marijuana establishments, and it be replaced with a new section that allows medical and non-medical marijuana establishments. This would allow certain types of Cannabis Control Commission licensed marijuana establishments only in the highway business and commercial zoning districts of the town of Braintree. Our proposed changes are as follows. Next slide, please. We propose that we change the language to include non-medical marijuana as well. Next slide. We also propose some changes to the purpose of the zoning district to be allowed by special permit. We also wanted to add some changes to the definitions, and we received some feedback on that day, and some definitions have been agreed upon, where marijuana would be defined by the state law, and also marijuana license types as defined by the state law would be included in that definition. We also wanted to change the prohibitions. The prohibition is mainly that non-medical marijuana establishments will not be allowed in any zoning district, and we were just asking to have marijuana cultivation and manufacturing be allowed in the highway zone and commercial district. Next slide. The amendments that we're asking for zoning as well would include new sections that would define the submission requirements, so we would have to submit our business plan so that the town could do its due diligence. We would also have to ensure that we're meeting and abiding by buffer zone requirements, the marketing requirements set forth by the state, as well as enter into a host community agreement with the municipality. And then we would also be adding a special permit criteria that would have our team have to obtain a special permit in the town before we're able to operate in this town. We had the security plans submitted to the fire and police department as part of our proposal as well. And these are all consistent with the state requirements for marijuana establishments. Next slide, please. We also added some principal use and parking changes and proposals. We wanted to allow marijuana establishments only, again, highway, business, and commercial zoning. And we would allow parking based essentially on the canopy space. So how much flower we're growing, we would allow 100 parking spots for 100,000 square feet. And in the non-cultivation areas where employees would be, about 20 parking spots for each 5,000 square feet. Next slide, please. So at the planning board, Member Crowe made a positive motion to the town council and that a text amendment be approved with the notes. And they also wanted to make sure that the definition was clarified as non-retail establishment to make it very clear that we are not seeking a retail proposal for cannabis at all in this town. We were approved, and only one member was opposed at that time. So we have come to the ordinances in town committee, and we've met with you guys previously, and now we're meeting here and allowing public comment because we want to make sure that we're answering all the questions and all the concerns are before us. Next slide, please. Some of the recommendations that were made is that no property containing a marijuana establishment be within 100 feet of a property, a residential property, so that would be an additional buffer zone in addition to what the state requires, which would be half a mile for marijuana establishments and 500 feet from a public or private school. We also asked, there's another amendment that says that we would not be doing any retail. So essentially those are the two things they wanted to clearly define, that it was a non-retail marijuana establishment in the ordinance. They wanted to add in a special buffer for residents so that there wouldn't be an establishment within 100 feet of their homes, and also ensure that there was no retail and it was very clear. Next slide. And you can move on to the next one. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about our proposed location. We have some image renderings. They're just images. We're trying to get creative and be able to provide a picture of what it might look like in the future for you, but this is our plan and our goal. Our goal is to have 3 different license types, one for cultivation, which would include indoor cultivation, which would have a drying room, a trimming room, a processing room, and a secure vault. We would also have product manufacturing, where we would have CO2 extraction, and we would have equipment that would be safely stored within the building and according to code. We would have a commercial kitchen and temperature-controlled storage for that part of the business as well. And then final, delivery, which is a unique license type that's only available to social equity applicants in the state, which would allow us to be essentially the Amazon of cannabis, where we could store and warehouse finished cannabis product, and people would use an e-commerce site, online-only ordering and payment processing, and then they would be discreetly delivered to their home if they live in a yes town. Currently, Braintree is not a yes town, so we would not have any delivery to the town of Braintree, which would mean minimal traffic impact as well. We would have no cash on site. A lot of our interactions with other businesses would be business to business, which means we would have just bank interactions, and no payments would be accepted on site, and the community would not be allowed to come on site and purchase any product at any point in time. So this is not a community-facing operation at all. There's nothing for sale at the location. Next slide, please. So our current proposed location is 280 Ivory Street. This is an existing 90,000 square foot warehouse. It is known as the Carter Rice Building to many. It's been vacant for over 20 years in the town of Braintree in District 5. It is not located within 500 feet of a public or private school. And again, there will be no cash on site at this location. We would just be carrying the 3 license types, which would be delivery operator, product manufacturing, and cultivation. We've also partnered with Subtronics, the leading security vendor in this space, to ensure that our facility is secured and that the community is also safe and secure as well. So at the right, you'll see that the existing warehouse is there. The building looks actually a lot better from that view than it does from the inside. Next slide, please. So what we were hoping to do is essentially create a better walking path for the District 5 residents and have a more walkable path to the T, and by creating some green spaces in front of the building. So we will have a complete rehab and transformation of 280 Ivory Street. Next slide, please. Oh, you can go back one, please. Thank you. So the zoning change impact. So the zoning change would have little to no impact to the current use of the zone, as the current use of the zone is highway, business, and commercial. It's already a commercial district. This location would still need a special permit that would allow the town to have complete discretion on where this establishment is allowed, or any establishment that comes to Braintree is allowed. This location is particularly interesting because it's located across from the transfer station and then behind the train station. It has been a deterrent to other business entities from, inhabiting the space, so we thought it was a perfect opportunity for our team to do something very positive with this building. So this next slide, there we go. So building improvements would immediately add a tax revenue benefit for the property, as the property in its new assessed value would have a higher tax for the property itself. In addition, there's a cannabis excise tax that Braintree can execute that would mean that 3% of our gross revenue would potentially bring over about $6 million of annual tax revenue to the town of Braintree. We would have job creation with no minimum education requirements and on-job training. There would be over 200 new jobs brought to Braintree over 3 workday shifts, and we would absolutely encourage everyone to use the T to come to our facility. We would also create a fund with significant philanthropic investment to support the community and its improvement efforts, and we would create a board of community members and leaders to decide where all those funds need to be allocated. Next slide, please. We've heard some of the concerns of the community. We've had a lot of conversations with city councilors. We've had questions from citizens. I know one of the things was significant traffic impact. We would not be doing any deliveries in the town of Braintree, so we feel that it would have a minimal impact. We've talked about how traffic should exit the facility, and that's something that we probably would address at the special permitting process, and make sure that we are having the least amount of traffic impact when we have our vehicles coming in and out. Our delivery operations plan is to essentially take in orders and follow up the next day with next day home delivery. So all of our vehicles would be exiting in the morning and going out to do those deliveries, and then returning in the evening after traffic has died down before 9 p.m. There would be an increased walkability because we wanted to add and increase a tree canopy in District 5. We walked around and there's not that many trees in that side of the district. We wanted to ensure that we had a welcoming green space that people would enjoy, some benches that they could sit at on their walk to and from the MBTA station. Lighting would be code conforming to minimize nuisance. We don't want to be too bright and have too many lights. The state does have very strict regulatory mandates around marketing, so our lights would not even be able to be on after 10 p.m. per the state law. We would also develop a comprehensive education plan and support the work of any established organization in the town of Braintree, and particularly the addiction prevention efforts that the community is already putting forth. Again, our request is for Braintree to allow the following uses: allow cultivation, allow product manufacturing, and allow home delivery to yes towns only. We are not asking that the zoning ordinance be changed to allow retail sales in the town of Braintree at all. Next slide. We think that our team is built to do the right thing here in town. We have a Braintree resident as part of our team that's advocated for this town and speaks very highly of the town of Braintree and wants to see all the benefits of the tax revenue stay in the town of Braintree. So with a modern facility, exclusive genetics, and what I call our dream team, I think that we can be the next successful business that this town hosts. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. You can take a seat.
No worries. Thank you.
Before we go to our public comments, we are going to do some staff comments. There was various entities that were reached out to regarding this ordinance, so I was going to read some of those into the record. Of course, the Board of Health has already appeared before us tonight. They have offered a letter which has already been read into our record at our June 1st meeting in opposition to this change in ordinance. The Planning Board, prior to their meeting, and then myself as the chairman of the Ordinance and Rules, had reached out to our public safety agencies within town, which is, of course, the Braintree Police Department and the Braintree Fire Department. As for the Braintree Police Department, on May 10th, 2022, in a response to a request for comments from Planning Director Melissa Santucci-Razzi, Braintree Police Chief Mark Dubois provided the following statement. After reviewing the proposed application, the police department does not oppose the changes. In a response to a request for further comment that I put to the police chief from the Ordinance and Rules Committee, he has noted the following, and this is a quote from Chief Mark Dubois. Based on my current knowledge, the cannabis industry is heavily regulated in Massachusetts and includes very specific security requirements above and beyond those currently applicable to other commercial businesses. The police department would collaborate with any in-house security personnel associated with such an establishment to monitor the property and address any concerns that may present themselves. As proposed, there will be no retail sales of recreational marijuana on the property. This is not the type of establishment that is believed to contribute to the local drug trade. It would be more like existing armored car services that operate with large volumes of cash. Based on my review of the application and the limited operations proposed, I cannot anticipate a public safety impact to the surrounding neighborhoods and maintain no objection to the proposal. As to the Braintree Fire Department, in a request to comments from Planning Director Melissa Santucci-Razzi and then seconded by myself, Braintree Fire Chief James O'Brien provided the following statement that there is no objection to this proposal from the Braintree Fire Department. As to the Planning Board, which was referenced in the presentation that was just spoken on, the Planning Board did move for favorable action on the proposal that came before them, which thus puts it before the Ordinance and Rules. Specifically, they did make some Planning Board recommendation proposed text amendments, which included adding Section 135-185N, 2, adding Section 135-18050, and then 3, modifying the proposed definition of a non-retail marijuana establishment. Those are the staff recommendations from police, fire, the Planning Board, and obviously the Board of Health, which is in opposition to the proposal. We will now be moving to the general public comment section. I'll recognize you, Mr. Clifford.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for recognizing me. Thank you for everyone else being here. The reason why I rose...
If you could first, just identify... Yep. If you could please state your name and address.
Dan Clifford, 265 St. Clair Street, former town council for 10 years. The reason why I've asked for this recognition is to ask that you suspend the 4-minute rule, Dave, Mr. Chairman. There are speakers here tonight that have studied and put together work that will take more than 4 minutes. It's not going to take 15 minutes or 20 minutes, and there aren't that many speakers. So if you would suspend the 4-minute rule, it'll be greatly appreciated, because the message that some people have will not get across in 4 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Clifford. I do respect the request. You can take a seat. Thank you. I do respect the request, but based on the fact that we have various people right in front of me right now, I have over 30 folks that have signed up to speak. We are going to maintain the 4-minute limit. There will be an additional time to be recognized for a second time after everyone has been recognized for the first time, with an additional limit on that. But it will be a 4-minute limit the first time that you are recognized. The things I would note is that you are always free to reach out to your counselors. This will not be the last meeting on this subject. We, at the very least, will be meeting on Monday, July 11th at 7 o'clock, so there will be additional meeting times. You can reach out to your counselors. You can reach out to the council as a whole via email. The email address, which I'll sort of read out now for folks that want to address that, is towncouncil@braintreema.gov. That will allow folks that want to extend maybe more materials to us to consider, or folks that aren't necessarily comfortable standing up in a session like this and speaking out loud, to get your thoughts, your comments, your feelings to the council as a whole. So with that said, we're going to be moving forward on the in-person comments. Those wishing to speak, as I said at the outset of the meeting, do need to sign in. There are some more sign-in sheets over there if anyone hasn't signed up yet. Speakers will be recognized in the order appearing on the sign-up form. When you come to the podium, you will be stating your name, your address. Again, I will be timing you for 4 minutes. I will give you sort of a heads up when you've got about 30 seconds left. We will be taking text messages too for those at home or for those who, again, don't wish to stand up and address the crowd publicly. The text message number, if you want to text in comments, is 781-812-5678. Again, that is 781-812-5678. We will take periodic breaks to read some of those text messages into the record. And again, just to note, there is no final vote being taken tonight. This, as I said at the beginning, we are your audience. We are here to hear residents and the community's feelings on this proposal. Again, there won't be a lot of back and forth. We're going to hear what you have to say. We'll take note of your questions, and we'll move to the next speaker. So we do appreciate everyone here and there. We want to hear your feelings and your thoughts on this. With that said, I will go to the first person on the list, Jane O'Brien, if you'd like to come up.
Hi, my name is Jane O'Brien. I live at 130 Franklin Street. I am vehemently opposed to all of this. We're talking about drugs, whether they're being sold in Braintree or whether they're being sold elsewhere. I'm just disgusted, and I don't know. I don't know what else to say. As far as taking revenue from this stuff, to me, it's taking dirty money. That's all I can say.
Thank you very much, Ms. O'Brien. I would next call to the podium Paul O'Brien.
Hello, my name is Paul O'Brien, 130 Franklin Street. I just want to make a statement that it seems like we've already demonized a retail store, which kind of means recreational marijuana. But yet, I don't think Braintree should be the one to supply all of the surrounding communities if we don't want it ourselves. So, I'd rather see better use of that retail property, even though it's been dead, for over 20 years. But I'd rather make our money somewhere else. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. O'Brien. And I will apologize in advance if my name pronunciations aren't the greatest on all of these. I would next call up Paul Pazniokis.
Good evening. My name is Paul Pazniokis, 17 Allen Street. I'm conflicted about this because, generally speaking, I'm pro-business, but I must express my opposition to this. It was a great presentation, but one thing that the CEO said was about the revenue and the 3%. So doing quick math, that's like $200 million worth of marijuana being grown here, and it's a lot of weed. But my opposition is two reasons. One, the people of Braintree have already spoken. The zoning does not permit that, so why are we going out of our way to change the existing zoning. There must be other uses for the property. I heard the building's been vacant for a while, but I'm just not comfortable with the vote that would sort of overturn the prior votes. I think the town council and the voters voted no on these things. So I feel like we're almost prostituting ourselves to get this money. And I also don't believe that these 200 alleged jobs are going to be full-time jobs. I would assume most of them will be part-time jobs. And if you speak with Braintree business owners, I don't think they believe that we need more part-time jobs. I believe they would tell you we need more part-time employees to fill the job. So part-time jobs without benefits, I mean, I don't think that should be the economic goal, you know, as far as changing the zoning. But on the other concern is the optics of it. I've been working in the recovery field for over 12 years. For a big chunk of that, I was working in a residential treatment program for adolescents, 16 to 20-year-olds. Now, I understand that this marijuana is not going to be distributed to the community. I get that. But it sends a message, because every kid in Braintree is going to be talking about that weed place. And it'll be young people probably dying to apply for jobs, because I've had many former clients try to get jobs at different dispensaries. I just think it sends a wrong message. Marijuana is an addictive drug. You know, I mean, if people want to smoke weed, that's fine. But sending a message to adolescents, especially now during this crisis where over 100,000 people overdose, and I granted most of those are opiates and other drugs, it's just an ugly message. It's just turning a blind eye to the epidemic we're in. And like that first speaker, I feel dirty. It's like blood money. And I just think we're giving youth the message that weed is fine. And weed is okay maybe, you know, if you're 25, but the data says the younger somebody picks up a first drink of drug, the higher the probability that they'll develop a substance abuse problem in the future. And I don't want to sound like Nancy Reagan, but I'll quote her, just say no to this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. James Miller.
Good evening. My name is James Miller. I live at 55 French Ave. My main concern with the changing of this ordinance is regarding the proposed location, which is directly behind my home. According to Google Maps, the distance from the edge of my backyard to the proposed building is less than 200 feet. For reference, the distance between the front of Town Hall and the library is 223 feet. We can clearly see the top of the warehouse and the building's current ventilation outlets from our bedroom window at the back of our house. My biggest concern is potential odor and any ventilation emissions that could impact the air quality directly around and possibly in my home. By extension, I am also concerned about possible long-term health impacts. For example, some research has suggested that VOC emissions from indoor cannabis cultivation could lead to ozone formation and pollution, and particulate pollution, both of which can be harmful to health. To be honest, the idea of being in my backyard, opening a window in my house, or walking around my neighborhood and smelling an odor or breathing in potentially unsafe level of emissions or emission products is unacceptable. Is the 100 feet buffer zone enough? Has the town done any research or collected any data around existing cultivation facilities and the towns in which they are located, including the location of Flower Express's location in Coleraine? If so, are odors detectable outside the buildings? Have emissions been monitored and verified to be below allowable levels and safe? Are there any other impacts those towns have experienced that may be unforeseen? Who will monitor emissions and ensure they are consistently at safe levels? In addition, Coleraine, the location of their existing facility, has a population density of about 37 people per square mile, according to Wikipedia. Take it or leave it. Braintree has a population density of over 2,800 people per square mile. Are we aware of other facilities in such a densely populated area, and therefore do we have any information about impacts or risks that might be unique to a densely suburban as opposed to a rural area? If not enough research has been done, I feel the town should gather more information, especially regarding air quality and public health, before we change the ordinance and agree to a facility in the very center of our town. Thank you for the opportunity to speak and for your time and consideration.
Thank you very much. Dan Dunn.
My name is Dan Dunn. I live at 31 Washington Park Road here in Braintree, and I'd like to speak in favor of this proposal. I feel that the jobs and the income that it can provide to the community could be of great benefit going forward, possibly as much as $50 or $60 million over the next decade, which can be used to help lower property taxes and for various projects, public works, and all of that kind of endeavors. But also, I would like to say that we're already host to one of the largest liquor distributors in the state, Total Wine. We have breweries in town already. Who here doesn't have a drink? I've been an RN for almost 40 years. I have never had a problem giving Narcan to anybody on marijuana, but I have on opioids, and I've had a lot of highly addicted alcoholics come in and had to treat them. I think it would be entirely discriminatory to not allow a legitimate legal business that could benefit this town to place its property here. That's all I have to say. I'm in favor of this, and I have no qualms about it.
Thank you, Mr. Dunn. Ed Marks.
My name is Edward Marks. Live at 61 French Avenue here in Braintree. I'm in a butter to the facility that we're referring to and a zoning change. I'm against the fact that the zoning could be changed. I like the way things are now. However, we have a transfer station, and in the summer months when it gets real warm and the wind is in the right direction, we get a definite odor on French Avenue. And once we call Town Hall, the situation is corrected. My big concern now is what sort of odor will we get being sent into the atmosphere once the facility is operating. And that's my big concern, is how that's going to affect my neighborhood and the town. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Marks. Ms. Marks, did you want to come up as well? No. Okay, thank you. The next one is T. Denise Brown. Ms. Brown.
Hello, T. Denise Brown. I live at 195 Elm here in Braintree. I wanted to just really come here to speak as a resident of Braintree, as a parent with a child who's currently in the middle school system, and as a woman of color. I've lived here in Braintree for 12 years. And in the beginning when I moved here, I was very excited, enjoyed the area and the atmosphere. But as of late, and I'm here to share my story and situation because I am opposed to this, as of late, I have recently discovered that my son has been vaping THC at the middle school level, and it was happening at the middle school. I had to reach out to the principal and volunteered my time to be able to go into the school to be another set of eyes, because they acknowledge that this is a very horrible problem in the school system as a whole, not just here in Braintree, and it's going on also in other schools across Massachusetts. I think the reason why I'm opposing, I hear all the information about it being non-retail, and I appreciate that, but at the same point, another gentleman had spoken up about the message that it sends. When you have young people who are recognizing that you are supporting, even if the business is not selling within the town, and they're delivering to outside towns, we have to also know that in those outside towns, it's still finding its way back in here. And for our young people, that is not a good thing. I was quite shocked to find out that this was something that was going on in the middle school. I did go and attend a PTO meeting. I expressed the fact that I am doing a pilot program, and I have been going every single Friday to walk around the particular school to keep an extra set of eyes on these students. And we have actually bagged quite a few kids, even since I've been on board in that pilot program, to understand and recognize what is going on. In that PTO meeting, it was also brought up, and this gives me really difficult feelings because my son is due to be able to go to Braintree High. And at this point, I'm very nervous after that PTO meeting when parents had brought up that they have children who are already attending Braintree High School, and some kids don't even want to use the bathrooms because the smoking problem with THC and vapes is extremely high. So it gives me these nervous feelings to know that my son, who at the time was 13, had already started something as a habit, and I've called his doctors. I've reached out to many people to understand what are the long-term effects, what are the short-term effects. I'm a very hands-on parent, and I absolutely oppose this. It's not about the money at this point. I understand that, yes, a lot of money could come from this, but at the same time, I think the biggest piece to remember is the message that you all are sending out, especially to our young people here. They will find a way. They are clever. So regardless of whether this is retail or not, it's still going to be here in this town. And if we send the message that, oh, you know what, we have a dispensary or we have areas of cultivation, then these kids are going to be like, no big deal. It's not a big deal. It's okay. So I just wanted to make sure that to state that and be clear that I absolutely oppose this, and it's not good for our youth here in Braintree or anywhere else.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Next call, I believe it says Ryan Laura.
Hi, Ryan Lovar, 55 Kelly Drive. Almost a little bit torn on that. That was a great, I think, view that was just shared, and a couple other views that opposed the measure. But at the end of the day, I'm for the measure. Largely because the town does significantly need additional revenue opportunities, and while we definitely need to balance the risks associated with what that might be bringing to the community, but I think it's being done in a very well regulated manner, also in a controlled manner, and looking at a building that's been vacant for a significant number of years. That just doesn't have any opportunities for additional tenants and hasn't, and it's being done in a very nondescript way, where I think that balanced with the commitment to educate, the commitment to provide those types of resources to talk about the effects of marijuana, I think could be counterbalanced by the type of nondescript and type of regulated environment that it's creating. So on balance, in favor of the proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. Dan Clifford, former counselor.
Dan Clifford, 265 St. Clair Street, Braintree. I'd like to use most of my time to speak to the viewers at home, actually, as well as the people here, and to give a little history on recreational marijuana and the votes that have been taken in the past and the resolutions that have been signed by the town council in the past. What I have here are 21 files from state, from local police, state police, from Mike Morrissey's Norfolk County District Attorney's office, from Maura Healy's office, from chiefs of police from Walpole and Stoughton, who have all opposed recreational marijuana. In 2016, the history here is that question 4 on a statewide referendum ballot was rejected by Braintree, that no recreational marijuana. And folks at home, if you're listening, this has nothing to do with medical marijuana. Medical marijuana stands alone. This is recreational marijuana. In 2016, Braintree and 90 other communities said, no, we don't want recreational marijuana. The law up at Beacon Hill had to be written to allow 91 communities to either partially or fully ban recreational marijuana, but gave them the option. Braintree chose to ban it in full. In full means cultivation, manufacturing, testing, distribution, and retail sales. In 2016, our town council signed a resolution. Councilor Hume signed it. Councilor Ryan signed it. At that time, Councilor Clifford signed it, and Councilor Bowes, who I saw around here, and signed it as well. Those are positions that the town council has taken. Those are the positions that the voters of Braintree have taken. And my point tonight is to speak to this question not being solved or settled by 9 councilors, but that those 9 councilors who were elected to official office to represent their constituents do in fact represent their constituents by supporting the opposition of this. Your constituents in District 1 and District 5.
Get about 30 seconds, Dan.
And every district except for District 3 opposed it. It is your obligation to support your voters and to say no or put it back on the ballot. Put it back on the ballot. It can be done. Misleading information suggests that it has to be a petition. It does not. Article 7 of the Charter of Braintree, Article 7, Section 710, allows the town council to put a referendum question on the ballot. Easy. And it doesn't have to be into the state until August 3rd.
That is your time, Mr. Clifford. I appreciate your comments.
Put it on the ballot. Thank you.
We are next going to read in. We do, like we said, we do have some comments coming in from home. We're going to have 2 of those read into the record.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. An email dated June 20th from Jill Coyle, District 1. It is to the town councilors and the mayor's office, and Stephen Leary have been copied. To the members of the Town Council and the Ordinance and Rules Committee, I am writing to express my concern regarding a non-medical marijuana manufacturing facility proposed on the Ivory Street corridor. This project has yet to be submitted to the Planning Board. However, the needed zoning changes to make this project a reality are before the Council. I personally do not have concerns over the proposed project, but do have great concern over the approval process currently unfolding. Based on the history of the marijuana business, specifically in Braintree, I feel it is disingenuous for the Town Council to make the decision unilaterally when the initial decision for adoption of marijuana uses was based on a ballot question to the residents of Braintree, which failed. I feel that the council is circumventing their own constituents by not allowing the issue to be placed on a ballot as it was in the past. The residents have been extremely concerned about transparency in town government, and this is one example of residents being removed from the process for a decision that will affect them and their town. I hope that you will consider doing what is right for the residents. I also ask that if this is placed on the ballot, that you ensure that it does not allow retail sales, as that is what the main reason many do not object to what is currently being proposed. Thank you, Jill Coyle, District 1.
Thank you, Ms. Coyle, for the email. Councillor Hume, the second.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Second email dated June 22nd from Michael Higgins. He's at Brookside Road. It is sent to Steve Larry with the mayor's office, and all town councilors. Hello all. Thank you to a few of our town councilors posting information about a proposed marijuana factory on Ivory Street. Thank you for that transparency. Regarding the news of a marijuana factory on Ivory Street, I recall the voters of Braintree decided by a ballot referendum question in 2016 that there would be no marijuana manufacturing, distribution, wholesale, or retail commercial activity located in Braintree. The sudden news of a proposed business in Braintree runs counter to what the voters of Braintree wanted and voted for. I certainly do not want this vote to be overridden by anyone other than the voters of Braintree. If Braintree wants such business activity in Braintree, let the voters of Braintree decide this by putting another referendum question on this November's ballot. A committee or any body of 9 should not decide this. You, the town council, did not campaign on breaking the will of the voters. Do this responsibly and let the town voters decide. Thanks to the retired town councilor, this voting result was made available to me. In 2016, by a margin of 54% no to 46% yes, referendum question number 4, Braintree residents voted no to recreational marijuana businesses. 20,000 Braintree voters cast their vote. The no vote was substantial, with 11,000 voting no compared to 9,000 who voted yes, an 8% margin. Sincerely, Michael Higgins, Brookside Road.
Thank you, Councillor Hume. Moving on, I would call James Donahue to the stage.
Thank you, everyone. My name is James Donahue. I live at 261 Old Country Way. I've been a resident of Braintree for the past 26 years, and I've been a resident of Holbrook since 1977, so in all 45 years in about 3.5 square miles of this area, so I know it well. I've been a professional investigator for my entire career for various government agencies, one of which was the Cannabis Control Commission and the Department of Public Health Medical Marijuana Program. So I've seen a lot of these facilities. I've opened a lot of these facilities. And for the record, I'm going to talk about the vote next, which a lot of people have. I voted no, even though I worked for the Cannabis Control Commission. But first of all, as many people have pointed out, the people of the town of Braintree voted no on this question, and I'm shocked that our town council would try to act in this manner to change the rules after we voted. Mr. Clifford is right. It should be put back to vote to the people of Braintree and not do it in this manner that a lot of people won't know what's going on. Secondly, the facility itself, this facility here, is completely inappropriate for a densely packed area in this town. This is a 90,000 square foot facility with a 100,000 square foot canopy. Now, that's as big as it gets, okay? Most of these facilities are out in remote areas or in remote towns. Usually they're in the Route 2 corridor in towns like Leominster or Coleraine, as they already have another facility out there. They don't belong in the middle of a town. The poor gentleman who said he's about 100 feet away from this facility, you will get odors. They're going to tell you that they're going to mitigate the odors. They don't work. You always smell the cannabis outside the facility. We already have a transfer station in town. Do we really want to add the odor issue of cannabis to that? This facility has 25 loading bay doors at the back, 25. The cannabis regulations that are published by the state state that a marijuana establishment, which this would be, cannot be located within 500 feet of a school, or historically they've said within 500 feet of an area where children would tend to congregate. That's usually what they go by. You know, the Braintree Baseball Club is right next door, probably less than 100 feet away, where we have 8, 9, 10-year-olds going in there for batting practice. There are a lot of residents within sight of this facility as well. But the biggest thing I want to talk about, and probably will use most of my time, is the licenses that they're going for. Obviously, they're not going for a medical license because they wouldn't be looking for a change in the law. They're going for an adult use cultivation license, a product manufacturing license, and a delivery license. So what they're going to do is they're going to grow the product, they're going to grow the plants, they're going to process that into finished product, such as what they call pre-rolls, the colloquial term is joints. They're going to process it into edibles, such as gummies, infused products, and that's all going to be finished product. That's going to be in their product manufacturing license. Then with their delivery license, they're going to take that finished product. Say somebody from Randolph wants, 20 pre-rolls. They will take that box of finished product and drive that over to Randolph under their delivery license.
About 30 seconds left.
That's what they're going to do. However, under a cultivator's license, they're allowed to transport. Look at the regulations. So what they're going to be doing is doing wholesale sales of flower to other marijuana establishments around the country, and around the state. And with those 25 bay doors, you're going to have tons of vehicles coming out of there loaded with raw flower going all over the state. So if you think traffic is bad in Braintree now, it's going to be even worse with this facility.
Thank you, Mr. Donahue. I would next call Thomas O'Brien. Thomas O'Brien, 16 Beals Road. No? Chris LaFleur. Chris LaFleur, 52 Abbott Street. Kevin Lyons. Kevin Lyons, 184 West Division. John Mahoney.
Hi, John Mahoney, 463 Pond Street. Would just like to recommend that this is allowed. I don't believe that the cannabis is a problem there. I think it's something that the town can use the money. I don't believe it's dirty money by any stretch of the imagination. And also, like the RN said, he worked in a hospital. I don't know anybody personally that's had severe issues with marijuana. I know so many people with alcohol problems, opiate abuse. If you're gonna let this thing slide by and not let it happen, I think it is a discrimination. And I've been a resident of this town for 59 years, and I've seen a lot of things come and go. But I think this is something that if it slides by and doesn't get in, I think the town's going to miss out. It's going to be a closed facility. The dump is an open facility, and it smells like rotten eggs all summer long, and nothing's done about that. This is something that the people have engineered, spent money on it. I believe it's a win-win for the town, and I think it's a good thing for the town, believe it or not. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mahoney. Pat Mulcairn.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and the rest of the council. I'd like to speak in favor of rezoning. I'm a resident 12 Ellery Street, I represent 2,300 union plumbers that work in, in the area, many of which are Braintree. Some are here with us tonight to speak in favor. And I think just the town of Braintree right now is in a tough place revenue-wise. I don't know how we let $6 million, like on a conservative estimate, walk away from us. I moved to Braintree in 1994. That building was vacant then. It was an eyesore then. And I don't see another business ever going in there. I never did. You heard things over the years. Nothing ever worked out. This is something sustainable that can continue to bring money to town. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McKinnon. Nick Bickerton.
Hi, my name is Nick Bickerton. I'm a resident at 121 West Street, and I am in favor. Thank you.
Thank you. Matthew DeJill.
My name is Matthew Joy from 174 Middle Street. I am also in favor of approving this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Joy. M. Nevins. M. Nevins. I'll call him again. Tom Killellen.
Tom Cullen, Sheraton Avenue. I'm in favour of the building being converted to medical or marijuana. Anything that's going to bring down our taxes, I'm totally in favour of. And if the police department, the town council, and fire department are in favour of it, I totally agree with them and support it.
Thank you. I believe we may have read your email, but I think you're here in person. Mike Higgins? If you'd like to address this in public.
Michael Higgins, 55 Brookside Road. May I yield my time to former town councilor?
No.
Okay, I would like to reiterate that the voters voted no on this in 2016. And I don't remember any town councilors campaigning to undermine that vote. I would like all town councilors listening to respect the vote that was taken in 2016. Beyond that, if the town wants this, put it on the ballot and let them decide. If this town wants this, there will be social costs. Whatever 3% we're getting, you're only going to spend it on social costs. You think drunk driving's a problem? Couple that with stone drivers driving around. We're spending an awful lot of money on our schools. You want to feed them drugs at the same time. I think the 3% out there is a lie. It's only going to be spent on, and it's not going to improve my bottom line or any of the taxpayers' bottom line. It's only going to be spent on who knows what. But my time is up. Just put it on the ballot. That's all I ask.
Thank you, Mr. Higgins. M. Nevins? Did he? Not yet. Okay. Kenneth Campbell. Kenneth Campbell? Kenneth Campbell, 158 Old Country Way? Nope. Brett Burkhead? Brett Burkhead, 53 Middle Street. Nope. Eddie Salaban? Eddie Salaban, 11 Safford Street.
Hi, thank you. My name is Jeff Saliba. I am the uncle of Ed Saliba, who lives down at 11 Safford Street, and if I could convey what he would like to say, I appreciate that. He just thinks that, the building won't even be noticed, and he doesn't understand why we couldn't, why would we give up that kind of tax revenue for, it's in a perfect location. It couldn't be in a better location. It couldn't be a better use for the place. So, he's in favor of the zoning change. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris Romano. Peter Thompson.
Peter Thompson, 269 Peach Street, Braintree, Mass. I had the pleasure of calling every one of you councilors. For the ones that called me back, thank you. For the ones that didn't, whatever. This town, unfortunately, I'm prejudiced against this because I lost a son to addiction. Nobody started with a syringe in their arm. They start with alcohol and marijuana. It's a gateway drug. I called all you councilors up, and the ones I spoke to, I said, we support One Life at a Time, and everybody went, what's that? It's a place up on Grossman Drive that they take people out of sober homes and they actually help them get jobs, teach them about life, get them back together, and help them. Not one of you people that I spoke to even knew about that place. But you know about a $200 million business that's going to be, now, it doesn't happen in Braintree, but we're going to be the mule. We're going to be Mexico. We're going to ship $200 million worth of marijuana all over the place. I brought Keisha here tonight. She told a personal story about our schools. Our schools are in trouble. Our schools are in trouble because of $6 million. That's bullshit. We're not in trouble for $6 million. We don't need $6 million. We don't need that. We're telling our kids the wrong story. You know how many funerals I've gone to since my son passed away in 2010? And they all started smoking pot. And everybody says, oh, it's okay. Everybody drinks. No, it ain't okay either. So now the state wants to become my bookie and my drug dealer. Why don't you guys, instead of telling us what to do, show us what to do? Do the right thing, like we did before. It got voted no, but yet this ghost keeps coming back because follow the money, honey. Follow the money. That's blood money. That's not real money. So last night, you sat here with an auditorium full of kids, patting them all on the back saying, great job, kids. Why didn't you tell them that you were going to take $6 million and that's how you're going to pay for our schools with dope? Why didn't you tell them that? Tough guys. You all brave? You're all so brave right now. Pick up my phone call. Pick up my phone call. I'm a good citizen. My wife and I do a lot in this town, and we've lost a lot. I put my life out there after my son died. You think that's fun? You think it's fun going out in my car every night and crying after I tell a story? And if I hear one more where you say to me, gee, thanks for sharing your story. No, this is going to be your story. It's going to be Braintree's story. It's going to be your story. You know what the story is? Oh, so we lost 5 or 6 more kids. That's $1 million each. It's worth it. No, it's not. It's not even close. And you guys sit here, and everyone's like, well, we're going to do it on a Zoom, and let's because it don't happen in Braintree. They started the drug and awareness program in Braintree when my son died. They took the word drug out of it because it don't happen in Braintree. Yes, it does. I've gone to more funerals than weddings. I've gone to more funerals of my kids' friends than I have for weddings. Want to do that? One of your kids. Why don't you give your kids the pot? Give it a shot. I don't need you jumping up and down. Do we need that money that bad? No, we don't. I'm not mad at them. I'm just mad at the way this world going. Stick a Ritalin down their throat. Stick an Adderall down their throat. Shut them up. Smoke a joint. Come on, listen. You drive down the street now. You go to every stop sign and every red light, and all you smell is pot. 20% this year and last year in Massachusetts People getting run over by cars is up. Is it all marijuana? No. Telephones too. Now they're smoking joints. You go to stop signs. Wake and bake. Let's wake and bake. Come on, everyone get high. Everyone's got anxiety. Every single one of you, I can go get you a medical card tomorrow. They've become, psychiatrists have become drug dealers. Oh, here you go, you're nervous. Go smoke a joint. Go eat a candy puppy bear or whatever it is. Wake up. Our schools are getting destroyed. You're building new buildings. It's not the new building.
Peter,
it's what's in the building.
That's your time. I appreciate it.
No, you don't.
I do.
You don't understand.
Dave Richa.
Dave Ricca, 49 Sterling Street, Braintree. I appreciate the video. You did a very good job. But you didn't really
Mr. Richa, if you can just speak into the mic so they can pick you up at home.
Yeah. But they didn't get into the environmental impact, and I was interested in that. I think of the compressor station that's going in now. I think of the Clean Harbors, if anyone remembers that from days past. And like any manufacturing facility, I'm interested in the release of chemical pollutants, either inadvertently through the ventilation or intentionally through the products. And it occurs to me that nothing should be released that can cause harm or impairment. And it seems that the cannabis being released may cause impairment to people. And I can see the justification for medical marijuana, because that's a compromise between some sort of medical benefit versus any impairment to people's mental faculties. So that was just a concern that I wanted to ask about.
Thank you, Mr. Ricketts.
Yeah.
Jim Clark. Jim Clark, 14 Scotland. Mike Ford.
Mike Fordy, Cardinal Court. In my capacity at the Braintree Electric Light Department, I've had opportunity to speak to a number of companies looking to come into Braintree for different types of business, including cultivation, marijuana sales. Typically, that conversation doesn't go very far. I can honestly say, and including companies that we know and that are already coming into town, this is the most professional group I've ever dealt with. And I wanted to put that on the record. I do stand in favor of this personally and professionally. I think as you look at properties in town, I hate to say it, there is blight in the town of Braintree, and this building is a prime example of blight in the town of Braintree. It's a good proposal. Is it a perfect proposal? No. I don't disregard anybody's sentiments that have spoken against this. I understand where their feelings come from. This is my personal feeling as it is their personal feelings. But I do stand in favor of this. I think it's a strong proposal. I think the redevelopment of that area, coupled with what's going to happen across the street, is a positive point. It's a gateway into the town of Braintree. And really, nobody's going to know what they're going to be doing here. On top of that, it backs up to the T station. There's train tracks that go behind there. And I know there are abutters on French Ave speaking that they're abutting the property. There are trains going by them. There's a landfill transfer station across the street. There are other problems there that I think far outweigh the problems of this particular project. And I do, again, stand in favor of this. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ford. We're just going to take a pause in the public comments because we do have some text messages that have come in. So I would turn to Mr. Casey. So we have submitted by Thomas Grogan from 72 Columbus Avenue. What is the plan to deal with wastewater? Where will it go? who will be tasked with the oversight of this issue in town. I ask this as someone who has worked for multi-state operators as well as craft operators in Maine, who has witnessed it dumped out the back door several times. This is a 100,000 square foot facility, and the issues regarding this question on my mind are more relevant to if an indoor industrial farm were to open in the town. Thank you, Mr. Grogan, for that. The next text comes from Dom Scappa, 10 Ardmore Street. I am strongly in favor of rezoning in order to build medical marijuana research facility. Thank you, Mr. Scappa. From Bob Rizzi, who is the president of the Quincy South Shore Building Trade. He stands in total support of this project, and we have opposed many projects, as you know. This is a legal, I think there's a mistypo there, this is a legal Braintree and medical project substance controlled by the Commission. It affords many jobs and revenue to the town. The police support it, and fire. The revenue alone is substantial, and the 5,800 tradespeople in Braintree are in favor. From Eddie Saliba, who I believe spoke a few moments ago, I am in favor, through his uncle, I am in favor of the zoning change. I believe the town could most benefit from the additional revenue. I live with muscular dystrophy and believe the extra tax revenue should be used to fix the sidewalks. I also believe the facility, as is now, is an eyesore. And that concludes with the text messages that we have in the queue right now. Moving back to our live in-person comments, I would move to Scott Price. Scott Price, 21 Louise Road. Jeff Plant. Jeff Plant. Louis Christian. Louis Christian. Oh, you missed.
Yes, sir. So I had a chance to review the information.
Mr. Christian, could you just state your name?
Louis Crispin.
And your address?
Chelsea 59 Dividend Street, Chelsea, Massachusetts.
So, Mr. Christian, this is for town residents only,
Yeah.
unless you represent a business.
Yeah, I was part of the project early on, brought in to do some preliminary investigation on the design of the project.
Okay, I'll let you speak. I'll give you 4 minutes.
So far I had a chance to review the building. I know a lot of people had a lot of issue with the building, but we found out that the building can work, and the odor, it can be controlled in an environment when we do the design. So the ventilation is one of the biggest things a lot of people have issue with, and there are equipment out there and where we could design the system where the smell can be in control and the CO2 generator can control the outdoor air. There are 5 exit door where smell can get out, and we have ways to control those smell. As far as energy goes for this facility, we planning to do some solar on the roof, which will mitigate the power for that facility, where 20-30% of that power can be used from the solar power, if needed to. And then as far as the water situation goes, there are equipment we have out there that can sense the water to make sure that the water doesn't, any corrosion doesn't happen and leave out the system.
Thank you very much for your comments. Yes, sir. John Mulaney, former District 2 Councilor.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I speak in favor of this motion for multiple reasons. I look at Braintree, and I've been in favor of cleaning up eyesores, and this has been an eyesore that we have looked at for many years. Anytime I took a vote on the council, I considered putting people to work. I chaired the committee that told me that Dave & Buster's was terrible and it would bring down Braintree. And I was told that in the driveway when my wife stood with 5 other people to tell me I was wrong on the vote. I'd like to think after all these years, it was the right decision. We cleaned up an old building. As a strong union supporter, I hate to see anyone laid off. As a person in favor of education, I hate to see teachers laid off. For many years, I've heard about the drugs in Braintree High School, and I'd like to see some of this money taken, $6 to $7 million, and used it to secure the prevention of children drinking while on drinking and using drugs while on town premises. My experience over the last 15 years as a private attorney has been that alcohol and prescription drugs have affected this town pretty badly, and no one is going after those. Here we're taking a facility that is going to grow marijuana, sell it out of town, and they're not going to sell it in town. I remember when the vote was coming up for marijuana, one councilor said they can just go to Quincy and they can buy their marijuana over there. I'd like you to collect the money. I'd like you to put people to work. And I'd like to beautify the building. And unlike my days on the council, I'm going to keep my comments short. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Mooney. Juliana Melchionda.
Juliana Melchionda, 1074 Washington Street. I know you all heard my opposition as a member of the Board of Health. I just wanted to speak on behalf of myself as a Braintree resident and my father, Bob Melchionda, who lives at 64 Howie Road. I am a nurse myself, and I encounter a lot of patients, most of them being some Braintree residents. And a lot of these patients are oncology patients who actually use marijuana for their benefit. And it's amazing to see the benefit that actually comes out of their use. That being said, these patients don't want this in their town. It's just not much of a need. You know, I understand the money, I understand the eyesore, but how can you compare something that's just tough to look at or bringing in money to people's children's lives? You know, I don't have kids myself yet, but I know that I would not want them to be exposed to such industry at such a young age. And I do believe that there can be a lot of other establishments that can go in this spot that can bring in just the amount of money. Why not bring in Amazon? It would bring in probably triple the millions. You know, I do see benefits, I do see risks, and the biggest part of my job is weighing the benefits and the risks. And at this point, is there really a need? And I do understand, yeah, you can drive the mile to the left, right, north, south, and get your dispensary. And I know town people that use and don't mind going to those locations to get what they need to help them. So myself and my father do oppose this, and that is all.
Thank you,
Thank
Ms.
you.
Melchionda. I know we called him before, but he was in the bathroom. M. Nevins? No, it didn't come back. Do we have any text messages accrued at this point, Mr. Casey? None?
Emails either.
Thank you. So at this point, everyone who wanted to speak for the first time has been recognized. Is there anyone who did not sign into the sign-in sheet that wanted to be recognized for the first time? Miss? So if you just state your name and your address.
Hi, my name is Mary Grogan. I live at 72 Columbus Avenue in Braintree, and I'm the mother of Tom Grogan, who brought up the initial email about the wastewater. He texted me something that he would like me to read to the council. What is the plan to deal with the wastewater? Where will the intended end product end up? Will these potential hundreds of thousands of gallons per day be going? Seeing that most cannabis jobs pay under $20 per hour, how are these good employment opportunities for a town where studio apartments cost $1,800 per month go? I'd also like to add something. My understanding is that the contribution that the company will be making to the town will be the equivalent of about $10 to $15 per person. Personally, my family will donate $110 to the town of Braintree, so this lady doesn't have to worry about her son going to Braintree High School. And I think, hearing all this clapping, that we all will do this. And if you bring this up as an amendment or whatever you want to do, I'll pay the $110. I have no problem with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else who's not spoken or did not sign in want to be recognized for the first time? Seeing none, what I'll do is open this up for folks that want to be recognized for the second time. If you can raise your hand, and I'll call you out. Does anyone want to be recognized for a second time? Mr. Clifford.
For the second time. Dan Clifford, 265 St. Clair Street. Thank you. We've heard many speakers tonight. We've heard a lot of emotional comments. This is how I feel. This is my opinion. Where are the experts? Where are the experts? You haven't listened to any experts. You might keep a checklist here saying we've had 15 people that have been for it and 15 people who have been against it. Look, there were a few speakers, probably shouldn't have spoken, work for Beld. Beld is looking for a lot of more money.
Don't speak out of turn. You can come to the podium if you'd like to address them. Everyone will give respect to the speaker at the podium, and you'll leave the meeting.
There are people here that may have conflicts of interest and have spoken for it. And I think those conflicts of interest should be made known. As you go forward, I don't expect this is the only meeting you're going to have. But just as Councillor Hume and myself and others on a special committee brought forward experts to be heard, this committee needs to bring experts before them to be heard, and not just the general public with their feelings. Alternatively to that, Put it back on the ballot. Let your constituents speak again. District 1, your constituents said no in 2016. District 2, your constituents said no in 2016. District 4 said no in 2016. District 5 said no in 2016. District 6 said no in 2016. The council also put together a resolution in which Councilor Hume and Councilor Ryan, at that time were on, signed. Where is that going to go? Is it just, okay, we signed it? We didn't think it was good then.
30 seconds remaining, Councilor Cliff.
We didn't think it was good then, but we've made a decision, or we may make a decision. I've heard, I went to the last Zoom meeting. I understand where this tide is going. And you have two choices. Bring experts forward to listen to them before you make a decision, like we did in the past.
That's time, Mr. Clifford.
Or finally, put it on
Time.
the ballot.
Would anyone else say it's the second time?
Mike Forty, Cardinal Court. I stand here as a representative of the Braintree Electric Light Department and a resident of the town of Braintree. I've come here tonight as a representative of the Braintree Electric Light Department and have no conflict of interest. As a matter of fact, I'm very proud of the fact that we try to recruit business into the town of Braintree and do not leave buildings standing vacant. I work diligently recruiting businesses all over the place. There's no conflict of interest. It is my job, what I do. This is a viable business looking to come into the town of Braintree, and I stand for it both as a resident and as an employee of Braintree Electric Light Department. And I take umbrage to being accused of having conflict of interest. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ford.
Jim Donahue, 261 Old Country Way. I'd just like to reinforce, I know it was a little rushed earlier, but you really do have to look at the licenses that they're applying for. A delivery license is different from a cultivation license. Under a cultivation license, if you look at the regulations, a marijuana establishment that holds a cultivation license is allowed to transport cannabis. So if they get a call from another marijuana establishment, say Curaleaf or Netta down in Franklin or In Good Health in Brockton, if they get a call from them knowing that they have this 100,000 square foot canopy and they say, we need 50 pounds of marijuana flower, then that's what's going to be transported. And they don't need your permission to do that. It's allowed under their license. Okay? You have to understand that. So they will be transporting. It's not just going to be deliveries of gummies to Randolph or, Quincy or people in the yes towns. It will be that, but it's going to be a lot more. It's going to be trucks filled with flour and also finished product as well. Because presently we have about 333 licensed cultivators in the state. We have about 417 retail locations. So there's a deficit. We have a lot of retail locations that don't have a dedicated supplier or dedicated cultivation facility for themselves. So these other retailers and also other cultivation facilities can buy product, bulk flower, from this entity. And that's what's going to be on the streets of Braintree. And also they're going for a testing license, don't forget. which means cannabis will be coming into Braintree to be tested if they get a testing license. So we'll have cannabis going out and we'll have cannabis coming in to be tested. And all those questions about wastewater, very valid questions. What's the impact on the sewer system? What's the impact on our water supply? This is a huge facility and it doesn't belong in a densely populated area such as this. Thank you.
Thank you, Sonami. Mr. Thompson for the second time.
Thank you. Today I took a ride up by Bertucci's in Five Corners. The same landowner that they're proposing this site is opening a site above Bertucci's called Rally Recovery. So now we have a launch pad and a landing area. It's kind of nice. Kind of works out really good because it's a good start. And the group that's looking to do that is looking to open and find another place for $5 million because this is getting out of control. So today I went over there and visited. Sure enough, there it is, all shined up and painted and ready to go. They're ready for the 12-step addiction program from top to bottom. I was mad earlier when someone said, geez, thanks for telling your story. It's really not my story. It's Braintree's. It's you guys, we have police shootings. They can't protect the plaza. You drive to every red light, someone's smoking pot. We're taking that next step in that next direction. You watch the movie Back to the Future, watch part 2. We're in part 2. Go watch it again. Go watch part 2. And we can't jump in a DeLorean and go backwards. But we are going backwards. That's what we're doing. So we're going backwards to take money, so now we go backwards. So when we go forwards, guess where we are? Same spot we're in. Don't do it. One of you, when I made a phone call to you said to me, well, you know, have you got a final word? And I said, yeah. I go, and I say this all the time, and I speak a lot, and I travel around a lot, and I said, you can't fix this. You can't. None of you can fix this. Impossible. But if you leave it better than you found it, and your kids leave it better than they found it, and their kids, then it's better. It's not fixable. Nobody can fix it. It's every day. We just need to leave it better than we found it. And if you approve this, you didn't do your job. You didn't do it. You just didn't do your job. Because this doesn't leave it better than we found it. We're going to go backwards. We're back to the future. My final word is, leave it better than you found it. That's your job. That's why you got elected. One of you said to me, I was tired of standing in the crowd and screaming and no one hears me. Well, now you know how we feel. Listen, I see it every day. I get phone calls every day. The next time I get a phone call, and I get them every week, someone needs to get into an addiction center. Someone needs help. My kid's smoking too much pot. My kid's doing heroin. My kid's doing this. I'm going to start calling all you guys and let you help me go find places for them. It's out of control. And the next step is everyone says, well, you know, opiate's bad, opiate this, and yeah, it is. It's bad. And by doing this, it makes it worse. It doesn't make it better. It doesn't. I'm not mad. I'm not mad at any of these people. It is what it is. But this town voted no, and I was so happy when they did. It's what it is.
About 20 seconds.
I'm all set. But just leave it better than you found it. Do that. If you do that, I'll cheer you on.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Anyone else for the second time? Seeing none, there was one text message that came in from Lisa Fisk-Heeger, who is the chairwoman of the Braintree School Committee. She says in her text, I can't make the public meeting tonight about the potential ordinance change for cannabis cultivation. I support the change. I watched the meeting on June 1st, as we know the revenue potential is substantial. Braintree is in need of additional revenue sources. The Braintree Public Schools could use additional funding. Marijuana is legal in the state of Massachusetts. I do look forward to watching a recording of tonight's meeting, and that is from Lisa Fisk-Heeger, the chairwoman of the Braintree School Committee. With that said, anyone else for the final time? Seeing no takers.
I wanted to send a final statement. I wanted to say thank you to the citizens of Braintree and the current and former elected officials in the room, as well as the town council, for this opportunity to present our proposal. I also wanted to thank our vendors that came here, our mechanical engineer, our security vendors that are also here with us tonight. Our position is always to work with the municipality we establish ourselves in, and in terms of job creation, we will have full-time jobs with on-job training, and Braintree residents will have priority in the hiring process. In terms of testing, we are not allowed to have a testing facility as it would create a conflict of interest per the law. Also, in terms of transport, we would only have about 5 harvests a year, which would mean only 5 times a year would we be able to transport wholesale product to other businesses. In addition, the state regulation only allows about $10,000 worth of marijuana to be transported at a time. Hence, there are no 18-wheelers that can transport marijuana products. They're typically like the armored van trucks that are carrying the product around the city. We've also partnered with Eagle Eye Transport, which is certified by the CCC to transport all of our marijuana, since we didn't want to take that task on, and we wanted the experts to do that for us safely and securely. The cannabis industry is still very young, and there's a lot of new technology to mitigate the impact to the environment and the surrounding communities. In terms of emission and odor, we are very committed to ensuring we have the best technology and the best systems to mitigate that risk to our surrounding neighbors. Our plan is to be really good neighbors in this town. Lastly, I'd like to say that we appreciate all of the feedback tonight. We continue to encourage citizens with concerns and feedback and questions to reach out to the town council. We have a support email set up, support@flowerexpressboston.com. We've shared that in our presentation. And please continue to give us your feedback. We will adjust our plan as needed to ensure that we're good neighbors in the town of Braintree. Thank you and good night.
Thank you. I just want to double check because I know the TV is blocking my view that way. Does anyone else want to be recognized for the second time? That? Sir, did you want to be recognized? You just have to come up to the mic and name and address.
I don't live in the town of Braintree, but I am a security expert, and I work with this team. I've done over 50 dispensaries and about 15 cultivation sites. So if I may speak, if you don't want me to speak, but
you're with the company, so you can speak, sir.
So my company is Setronic Security, and we're in New England, New York, New Jersey, up and down the East Coast. But in Massachusetts, we do over 50 dispensaries security. We've designed them, installed them, monitor them, and service them. I also do over 15 cultivation, over 100,000 square feet. We're building them out, designing them right now. So I work with this group, and I design the security system. I also work with the authorities, the police departments in the towns that where my customers are. We work very closely with the town officials, with the public safety, and actually we do the state police also. So with this facility, in particular to Braintree, we're going to work with the public safety people. We're going to work with the town, with the council, on reviewing the security measures. And when I say security measures, I mean cameras, access control, intrusion system that protect the building in the outside area of monitoring, looking at all the areas, lighting. These cameras are very clear. So if there's any questions about that, I'd have anybody feel free to work with the company and, of course, town officials, and I'd be more than happy to answer any questions. We have to be careful on the design because we don't want to give it to the public, just because the police department doesn't want that, and the Cannabis Commission doesn't want that, but I would answer many questions. So that's all I have to say, that it would be very, very, in the area that this building is, very well protected. We do remote viewing with the police department and, of course, the owners, so that if an incident would happen, the police department would have instant video they would have into this facility. Also, we do vehicles, too. So when you talk about vehicles moving in and out, these vehicles have to be protected with cameras. They have to have GPS. They have to have body cameras on them to everybody in there, in the vehicle. So those are well protected too. And we do the barcoding and POS that we work with those. So all the product is barcoded. So I just wanted to state that for the record with this company, to the council, and to the Braintree public. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else? For the second time?
Keisha Denise Brown, 195 Elm Street, Braintree. Just as a final message, I guess, is that I want to be sure that the message, in fact, does not get lost. I hear people talking about security. I hear people talking about, you know, the fact that people have to be Narcan using because they're using other drugs or what have you. Speaking from my personal experience, and this is something that's going on real time, but I'm thinking about not just my son, but the youth of Braintree and the message that is sent out if you move forward with this. I also work in substance use disorder. I work for the town of Chelsea, and I was at one point working with recovery here in Braintree, so I'm very familiar with all of this. I just want to make sure that it's noted that it is about the message, it is about what the people are saying, and it's about our young people that are coming up and moving through this town. We don't want to give them the message that this is okay. And it is addicting at young ages, at 13, at 12, at 10, and these are the ages that the kids within this town of Braintree are actually experimenting with THC marijuana vapes. So if you allow this to go forward, again, the message is totally that it's okay, it's fine. We don't really care about the youth of Braintree. What we really care about is the money. And money, yes, it is important, I get that. But there are other ways in which we can find and figure out how to bring that revenue into this town. Thank you.
Sir?
Dan Dunn, 31 Washington Park Road, Braintree. I'd just like to say one thing. We tried prohibition in the past. It didn't work. It led to crime families. It led to all sorts of problems within society, mostly illegal. This is going to be regulated. This is not any more addictive than alcohol or opioids or any of those things. And I see your problem, and I sympathize.
Mr. Dunn, if you could just speak into the mic.
I sympathize with anyone who has it, and I think most of us have experienced a tragedy from drugs or alcohol or tobacco. Alcohol or any of things are gateway drugs. Advil is a gateway drug because that doesn't work well, so I'm going to get an opioid, so then I'm going to get this. It's the individual that determines this, and I agree with you. Children have no business in this area, and we need to do everything we can to protect our children. They're our future. They're the future of this town and this country. But I feel that to discriminate against a legal drug at this point is disingenuous at the best. Most of the people in here, I'm sure, have a drink every now and then. Most of them don't abuse it. Some do. I think that this facility will benefit the town, as I said before, and what many others have said. And I fully support it, and I do support also safeguards to try to do everything we can to protect our children from this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dunn. Ma'am?
I'm Joanne McCarthy, and I live at 1187 Liberty Street. Meredith Baricki is my town councilor, and I'm very grateful to her to have told me that this was going on here. Monday, I did not even know where Carter Rice building was, and I've lived in the town since 1993. So I don't mind sharing with you that that's how ignorant I was about this dumpy-looking white building across from the recycling plant. However, I don't know if there's anything else we can put in that building, but I would like to hear other options. There has to be some other kind of business that can go into our town other than a dispensary. I mean, the whole thing, we're a gateway. I heard the word gateway. Yeah, I don't like to be a gateway to dispense drugs. So I'd like other considerations for that building. And, I mean, the section of the town that I'm in, there's been that whole development on Grove and Liberty that the town is considering. So please, let's not jump to any conclusions here. I just want to hear other options for that property. I don't like the fact that the medical team seems to be against it. It may file okay with other things like the police and the fire department based on a proposal on paper. But we have to live with it if we go through with it. I guess that's it. I mean, I was very impressed with many of the speakers and people who have actually had on-site experience with the situation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McCarthy. Anyone else for the final time? Seeing none. Well, I thank everyone for coming out tonight. Obviously, we wanted to hear from our community, and we're going to continue to seek out and hear opinions and feelings and thoughts on this proposal. Of course, at any time that you wanted to get your feelings heard, thoughts heard, you can email towncouncil@braintreema.gov. I would first turn it to Councillor Ryan.
Thank you, Councillor Ringus. I just want to say thank you to all the folks that came out tonight, whether you're in favor of this or you're opposed to this facility. You took the time out of your busy day to come here because, like all of us, we care about the town of Braintree, and I appreciate everybody that came out to be here tonight for this issue. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councillor Ryan. Anything from the other councillors? With that said, do I have a motion to table 22015 to our next O&R meeting, which is going to be on Monday, July 11th?
Second.
I have a motion to table order 22015 to our next meeting. I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
That is 4-0. That is unanimous. There is no new business this evening. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
I have a motion by Councillor Hume. I have a second by Councillor Ryan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that is unanimous. Thank you again to everyone. Also, thank you to B-Camp for televising this tonight.